Well, Charlie, delighted to finally meet up with you after so many years, because I've been playing your music on the radio since probably the late 70s, I would imagine, and you're finally here. Great to have you in Scotland.
It's great to be here, and I couldn't thank you enough, because you've been a real stout supporter of me and my music for a long, long time, so it's nice for me to set eyes upon you, Stuart.
And lots of surprises in store for you as well, because you have your new autobiography out, which is... absolutely riveting read indeed, and packed full of surprises. I didn't know you were a bit of a scally when you were a lad.
Well, all sorts of things. They're all part and parcel of the things that colour your life. And for a short period in my life, I did sort of go off the rails when I was about 19 or something. But it only lasted 2 months. People have this impression that I'm a hardened criminal, far from it. And I come from a very sort of, very sort of proud and upright family. So they were aghast when Charlie went adrift, but I lived in that sort of area where to be accepted you needed to be a hard case sort of thief, and if you look at me you could realise that I wouldn't survive long as a hard case, so I did petty thieving for about 2 months just to become one of the lads, I'm ashamed to say, but it didn't last long, Stuart.
But of course, I mean, you were born in Wrexham in Wales. Do you consider yourself Welsh because you moved to Liverpool very, very early? In fact, you probably don't even remember it.
No, I'm a war baby, as anybody looking at me or could vouch for. But my mother was. I never understood the logic, because my mother was taken there, and as soon as I was born, I was brought straight back to the bombs. So really, although my birth certificate shows me as being Welsh, I've lived all my life on the Docklands of Birkenhead, which is across the Mersey from Liverpool. So I'm a Scouser, really.
And the youngest of 11 children.
Yeah, I grew up in a fantastic house, because I was doted upon by my mother. All my brothers were seafarers, merchant navy men, who brought back wonderful gifts from round the world. The house was full of music. My mother sang, my father sang. My brothers brought back the first guitars I'd ever seen, and the songs of Hank Williams and Jimmy Rogers. We had lovebirds from Africa. We had a dog and a cat always. We had chickens in the back. We had a duck which seemed to attack everybody. And we even had a monkey at one stage.
A monkey?
We did, which is a wonderful story. I mean, for people who've never heard the story, my brother Harry was aboard a ship in West Africa, and everybody on ship got a monkey, and they all brought them on board. And 2 days out at sea, the captain discovered that the ship was awash with monkeys. So he said, all monkeys, the order came round, overboard. And our Harry thought, well, they're not getting mine, So he drugged it with a mixture of aspirin and rum, which is a terrible thing to do to a monkey, but he wanted to save its life. So he kept it sort of drugged and doped until he got to Merseyside, and nothing was seen of the monkey. And of course, when it arrived, it was much more relaxed in those days. The customs came aboard, didn't see anything. And as he was leaving, he had this big overcoat on, and it was the middle of summer, and he had the monkey still drugged and doped in his inside pocket. I said, by the time they arrived on Merseyside, it was a drug addict and a drunk, But he went through the gates, and as he got about 100 yards up the road, the fellas on the gate shouted after him, because they knew him well, all right, Harry, having a good leave, won't you, mate? And look after the monkey. So they knew he had it all along, But it was a wonderful gift to me, probably one of the best gifts that they ever brought from abroad.
So what would you say would be the first big break on the road to where you are now?
Well, I think what started it initially was people started recording songs that I'd written. I began to write out of complete frustration, because I loved singing, and I thought, I'm getting nowhere, Perhaps if I write something. I didn't really have any faith in my ability to write anything. But I started writing, and ironically what happened is people began to recognise me as a songwriter, but I was still no further afield as a singer. And then, after yet another rejection, back in 1995 it was, I thought, and I was getting on a bit at that time, I thought perhaps all my chances have gone, perhaps I better accept the fact that it isn't going to happen, And I remember, I'm a great believer in a very ordinary way, but I remember arguing with the Almighty saying, listen, Lord, why did you give me these gifts, the best gifts I've got? I'm musical, and everywhere I turn I get back healed, All right, I give in. If it's your wish for me to be a teacher in Merseyside, I'll do it, but you'll have to help me out, because I don't like it very much. And Foster and Alan, who are great friends of mine, through the songwriting, said, Charlie, will you do our support in the spring of 95? And I thought, this is my chance. I'll accept, pack my job in and take a plunge, And in 95, January, Tony phoned me up, who's a great friend of mine, and said, I'm sorry, Charlie, we're not having a support now. And I thought, well, that's it, forget it. But the next day I thought, no, I'm not giving in. What can I do? Instead of moping, what can I do positive? And I phoned RTE in Dublin. And they said to me, Charlie, we've been trying to get you for about 2 months. Can you come this week? And I went with just my guitar, and I used to play the bass pedals with my feet. And sang one song, and he said, if I call you back, will you do another song? And I said, yeah. And I think the Almighty was definitely on my side that night, because following me was the lottery. So all of Ireland was watching, waiting for the lottery results. And I think they even extended the show to let me finish the song. I went back to Merseyside after a wonderful weekend in Dublin, and my son picked me up from school on a Friday and said, Dad, you're in the Irish charts. And I said, fantastic, what am I, 98? And I would have been delighted with that, because I'd never been in a chart in my life. He said, no, Dad, you're number 2. And the following week, I was number 1, and my whole life was sort of transformed overnight. So it was like a bit of a musical fairy tale, really, but it was worth waiting for, Stuart.
But real advice, isn't it, for anyone, just don't give up.
Well, I think I must be a beacon of hope to people out there, because I've seen so many really talented people who've been sort of treading the boards for years. Yeah, and I suppose they'll look at me and think, well, if that Al geezer can do it, there must be a chance for me, Yeah, don't give up and retain your own belief in yourself and be influenced by others, I would say. But don't try to be somebody else. Be the best you can be, and try to find your own musical fingerprint, and please God, it'll work for you, And I think the fella upstairs looked after me too,
Now, What Colour is the Wind? Obviously, a lot of people will have known you for the first time through that song, a song you wrote yourself. And, what a cracker.
Well, I didn't realise at the time just what had been landed on my plate, because I was given the title. I was celebrating a birthday at a club not far from where I lived. I was supporting an American artist called Hugh Moffat, and a lovely man. And during the course of the night, all my friends were arriving with books and CDs, fantastic. And Pete Naden came in, a lad from Blackpool, who writes a few songs, and he said, Charlie, I've got a title for you, he said, and I can't do anything with it. He said, so I'm giving it to you. He said, a blind child was overheard saying to her father those very words. And I thought, oh, isn't that fantastic? I'm not clever enough to dream up a title like that. And I went home and wrote the song and called my son in, the middle son, who was particularly brutally honest, And I said, is this all right, Al? And he said, yeah, it's not bad, that, Dad. He said, it's quite surreal. So the first time I ever played it, the lad who'd given me the title was in the audience, and I thought, I'll try this out tonight. And I played it predominantly for him. But it went down an absolute bomb. And everywhere I played it, it went down a bomb. And I started to believe in the power of the song, because until then, I was a bit dodgy about playing it. But people gave me the faith in the song, and that's the song that sort of transformed my life. So whoever that child was, thank you.
And I Will Love You All My Life, of course, which is another huge song, really brought you to the attention of even more people, because Foster and Allen recorded it. I think it made number 49 in the National British Chart, something like that. Just missed out on a top 40 place. And of course, they just had Bunch of Time, which was a big success for them. And that one really put it into another gear, didn't it?
Well, that song was really good. That's one of these wonderful things that you hope will happen again, because I was driving and I had a little Mini with all my gear in, and I'm driving to a little pub in Wallasey, not far from home. And without consciously thinking of anything, I sang the first line with the melody and the lyrics. And I thought, where did that come from? That's not bad. Well, all night, all I had to do, because I didn't have a recorder or anything, I'm playing in this little pub, and between songs, I'm turning around and going, da 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 da, so I wouldn't forget it. And when I got home, I put it down. And that's, I suppose, what it was. The inspiration, I think, was subconsciously was taking place. Because my wife was always saying, why aren't you like your Jack? He's great, he can decorate and everything, he's very handy, and I'm absolutely useless.
Join the club.
I suppose what it was, I was sort of saying, well, maybe I'm useless, but I love you, isn't that enough, And I wrote the song, and that started the whole ball rolling, with Foster and Allen taking it, and they had success in Australia with it, and obviously in the UK and in Ireland. And people began to know of the song and then know of me through that. And they sort of laid the platform, really, for what came later for me,